That's a great question, man. You know, every project we do, we're trying to always improve and always get better. And we do some pretty dope stuff, man. So it's really me locking in with my wife and my designer in terms of the design. And it's a lot of pressure because, my wife and the designer, they kind of are the ones that oversee what the look of the project is going to be, like the finishes from the tile, the cabinets. I'm mostly involved in what to build. Like I might be more involved in the style of the house, but they're involved in like what goes in the house to really make it look good and the pop. And so it's a lot of coordination with them. And then in addition to that, they're always coming up with these extravagant ideas on what we should put in the house. And so I have to balance the budget. Okay, realistically, what do we have to put in this house and what can we put in this house to make sure that the numbers align? Because you can build something and not make a profit. At the end of the day, we want to build something nice, but we also got to make sure that we don't miss the business part of it, which makes it profitable. Getting to the finish line, man, there's always a lot going through the project, but seeing the final outcome and seeing each stage. So, it's always stressful when you submitting for permits, trying to get your permits and going back and forth with the city. And then once you get your permits, like that stress goes away, but then the stress, anxiety of now we got to actually build it starts. And then it's okay, let me get the foundation done. And then with weather dictates your time frame. Like it's been raining like crazy. And so like I got projects right now I can't even get to the foundation on. But it's just one step at a time, phase by phase. Can I get a caramel macchiato grande made with
Anything else?
made with half and half hot?
All right. Anything else for me?
That'll be all.
663.
The stress is not necessarily building the house. The stress comes from sometimes other people and sometimes things you can't control. Like the weather has been stressing me out just because there are things I want to do, but it rains for 3 or 4 days and then that just creates delays. And so I would say for what I have now, it's been more so stressed with weather because there's not I can accomplish on foundation, site work, framing when the weather's just been so bad. Uh, but there's always stress, man. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing because you got to have some type of pressure creates diamonds. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there is stress and anxiety. You know, is what we build in, is somebody gonna buy it? Like that always, we're human. I feel really good about this project. The projects that we have really good numbers on them, but you always got to be concerned with other factors that you can't control, like the economy, um, people having jobs, you know, the tariffs, material going up. You might have a budget of 500, but with tariffs and cost of inflation, that project might end up costing you 550, 575, 600,000. And if your loan is only for a certain amount, then you got to pay for that extra out of pocket. So, that kind of creates some stress from time to time. But I think the biggest thing I try to focus on is always focusing on the project and the quality and what we build. And 9 times out of 10, that always overcomes all of the hurdles and obstacles and things that we face going through the project. The worst advice I ever got was don't build new construction. And it was from somebody that was just fixing and flipping houses. I've got a lot of bad advice from people. I think the biggest thing is I just can't listen to other people. I just got to do what's in my mind and do what's in my heart and follow what I think is best because people will give you bad advice because something didn't work out for them. Just because one person lost money doing something, you don't know all the details on what happened. They probably didn't buy right. They probably didn't manage it right. So yeah, I've got a ton of advice, but I think, man, I would never do new construction, man. I don't know why you trying to do new construction when you could just make a lot of money fixing and flipping. Which at the time you could make a lot of money fixing and flipping, but that fixing and flipping to me has kind of run its course. It's so hard to find a fix and flip property right now. If you're fixing and flipping, if you're trying to fix and flip in this market, you're not finding good deals. You're not making any money. So if I would have listened to him, I would have learned how to do new construction, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I would say that. This might sound cliche, and it's probably a few things. You know, follow your passion, because when things get tough and things get hard, if you're not passionate about something, you're gonna quit. So yeah, it's not easy building houses um, all the time, and there are a lot of challenges that you face. But I actually enjoy those challenges. I'm passionate about what I do. Like, I like the end goal. It's just like if you enjoy working out, you don't necessarily like the pain, but you enjoy the results of you being in the gym every day. So I don't always like the things that happen during new construction with everything that goes on, but I enjoy the final product. So for me, it's worth going through the process because it's very rewarding. The product is very rewarding, and then also financially it's very rewarding. So follow your passion, man, because if you're not passionate about something, your ass will quit if it get hard. There are a lot of myths, big myths in real estate. So one, rental properties. Rental properties can be very good, or they cannot be so good. And sometimes you just have bad luck. But I think the biggest thing with rental properties is that people think they can get a few rental properties and live off the cash flow. I think that's the biggest myth, because when you have a rental property and you have a mortgage on it, you may only make $300-400 a month on after you pay your mortgage company. Now, if you have a water heater go out or an issue with that property that you have to pay, that property actually can have a negative cash flow for the year. So you actually can lose money on your rental property. There have been several properties that I've lost money yearly on. I think the saving grace, or the best thing about the rental properties that I had, were that I bought strategically, and they all had equity in them, and I built the equity in them. So I think rental properties are more so a long-term equity play than a cash flow play. I think if you're looking for cash flow, I think there are other businesses that produce better cash flow than rental properties. And I think certain parts of commercial, or if you're getting in apartments, produce better cash flow than rental properties. So if you're investing in a property for cash flow, I don't think it should be a one-off rental property. I think it should be commercial, or apartment complex, or something that has multiple doors. If you're looking for equity and it's the lowest point of entry, then yeah, a single family house can work, but it's definitely not going to pay you enough cash so that you can retire off of. Man, mentors are very, very key. I was very fortunate when I got started as an agent to have some good mentors. And they were really mentors. At the time, I didn't really see them as mentors, but looking back, they were mentors. And a lot of them were investors that I was working for. I was their agent. But the advice and the knowledge and just being around them, the gems that I picked up. They didn't sit me down and say, hey, I'm going to be your mentor. It was just the conversations that we had, you know, that gave me a lot of valuable insight. Because if you got a mentor or somebody that's giving you great information from their experience, that's the most valuable information in the world, because you can learn a lot from their mistakes. You can learn what to do, what not to do, or figure out what lane you want to be in. You know, even before I started building, I was working with some investors that were building houses, and I was their agent, and I would see the mistakes that they made. I would see them buy a property without a survey on it, thinking it was a great deal, only to find out the lot's not buildable. Now, if they would have got a survey, which would have been $1,500, $1,000, they would have knew that that house, that lot wasn't buildable. But they end up losing $40,000 on buying a lot that wasn't buildable because they didn't do the survey. You know, so things like that, I learned and I just picked up, you know, from other people's mistakes. And those things I've carried into my business, so I didn't have to make those same mistakes, because you can make a lot of money in real estate, but you also can lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. So mentors are very, very important. You gotta have a why, man. If you don't have your why, then you're not nesting with anything. It's just not gonna motivate you. Like, my why is my family. Everybody's why is different. It might be their grandkids, it might be, you know, their kids, it might be a family member, it might just be something for them. They may get tired of working where they work at and just hate their job. So that your why is the most important thing. That why gets me up every single day. It keeps me motivated. And I never want to be in the position I was in, you know, almost 20 years ago. You know, I was struggling. We was facing foreclosure. Got tired of living paycheck to paycheck. My wife was pregnant. I couldn't pay my bills. You know, I get my paycheck and have to make payment arrangements. Man, that shit sucks. You got one life to live. And I don't know about y'all, but me, I am not going to live this life, you know, wishing I would have did something with regret. I'd rather go out there and fall on my face and fail than wishing I would have did it, you know, wondering what if. So I'm an action taker, man, and I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm gonna put everything I got into it, win, lose, or draw. And that's just how I feel, and that's how I operate.